Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the High Performing Woman Talk Show, where we celebrate the unstoppable force of high achieving women. And I'd like you to join us as we showcase remarkable stories, insights, and triumphs of extraordinary women who break barriers, inspire change, and redefine success. So get ready to be inspired, motivated, and empowered. And with that, I'd like to introduce today's topic. Today, we're going to talk about breathalytics and more on that later. It's truly amazing what can be learned simply by exhaling. So today, I am thrilled to have the groundbreaking entrepreneur, Helle Funch Nielsen, with me today, all the way from Denmark. Who has more than 25 years experience in the areas of life science, respiratory, and med tech. So welcome, Helle.
Yeah, thank you, Susan, and thank you for having me today.
It looks beautiful, and I love that background there. Is this the Denmark countryside?
It is the Denmark countryside. It is a sunny day here, so after a long winter, we are enjoying sun and good weather.
Excellent, excellent. So tell us a little bit more about the person Helle, and a little bit. I think if I read read correctly, this all kind of started with horses.
Yeah, it was actually my passion for horses who brought me into being entrepreneur and founder of exhalation technology. So yes, I have a background in the respiratory treatment, so in the pharmaceutical industry. And my passion for horses actually made me think that I could actually also treat horses as good as
We lost you.
that you normally that brought me to actually starting my own company some 20 years ago. You lost me.
Yeah. Oh no, you're back now. But I think that the
Susan, can you
signal
hear
is a
me?
little. Yeah, I can hear you now. There was the signal was a little bit tricky where you were. You were kind of going in and out,
Okay.
and then we lost the picture.
Okay,
But you're
okay.
back.
I was good. Good. Well, I said, well, I had my passion for horses and I had my pharmaceutical background. So I tried to combine that 20 years ago. Like it started as a hobby project and turned into more serious after a couple of years.
Isn't that funny how some hobbies end up almost some of the greatest ideas start out as a hobby, you know, tinkering with
It
computers and all
is,
sorts.
and it's actually the best way to work when you're like combining job with your hobby. It is fantastic. And it makes so much good sense both to you and also to the way you work.
Right. You're right. You're right on purpose. You're like living your dharma. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
So now you are disrupting the field of respiratory diagnostics. Um, and tell us more about this and give us some statistics, and why is this so important and why is this so groundbreaking?
Yeah, well, there has been done a lot of research in the respiratory breath area for many, many years. And many years ago, so more than 20 years ago, they started off like analyzing gas, so gas coming out of your breath. We took another approach because we wanted to diagnose horses. And normally when you're like using gas for diagnosis, then you will have to breathe in a certain way. You can't ask a horse to breathe in a certain way. So that's why we chose to say, okay, we collect the condensate from the breath and then we actually measure something in that condensate. So the same biomarkers or different biomarkers in the breath and just using tidal breathing because that is what a horse can understand.
The tidal breathing, like the gently
So
in and
just
out.
the normal tidal breathing in and out and normal breath.
Right.
And that is what the technology can do. So that is also why we took it on to humans. Actually, that was because the same biomarkers are in horses as in humans. And since you can just use normal tidal relaxed breathing, then anyone can do it, from a little child up to a severe sick person.
Right. So tell us a little bit about, the problem that this
Yeah.
is solving. I mean,
Yeah.
I saw some stats on pneumonia and lung cancer, and how is that all
Yeah.
related?
Yeah, so we have actually chosen to go for, well, currently you can collect many biomarkers in the breath condensate. You can also actually collect pathogens in the breath condensate. So we chose two diseases where we know we have a track record. We have some clinical pilot studies where we have very, very good evidence. And that is lung cancer and that is pneumonia. So using the same biomarker with some additional built-in sensors in the device, you can actually differentiate and pre-screen for lung cancer and see here's a lung cancer patient. And you can also diagnose pneumonia. And we
So,
have actually, yeah, sorry, go on.
no, sorry to interrupt. So when you say pre-diagnose, so in other words, it's kind of like the mammogram of lung cancer.
It is, it is. So it's pre-screening before you actually send them to CT scanning. So when you're normally diagnosing lung cancer, they very often come very late in the stages. So the survival rate is pure for lung cancer, and that is something that a lot of countries, including US, are actually trying to do something about. They are
So
like,
to even be like proactive, not even wait till there's a problem,
exactly,
like when they're in the
exactly.
doctor's office, kind of a part of their usual. Oh, look at you got a horse behind you as well. So I'm trying to get on screen. You got
Yeah.
a movie star in the background there. So basically, um, people could go for their annual checkup with their GP. Or their doctor, and then they can just breathe into this, and they're like, "Oh, you can."
Yeah, yeah. So the way it works is actually that you breathe into it. Normally it takes about a minute and a half to collect the full sample. You place the device on the table and it is fully automated. So it do all the analytics itself. We are still in the evidence gathering phase. And that means that we still have to collect more data, definitely both in the lung cancer screening area, but also in pneumonia. But the technology is sensor agnostic, which means you can change sensors and then you can choose another biomarker that you want to measure for other diseases. But
So, like, what other things can you measure in the breath?
it could be anything from pathogens to all kind of things, but definitely where they are longest is within biomarkers. So most are actually most companies are focusing on biomarkers. I
So
don't
I
think,
imagine that that's a preferable, like even a COVID test or something.
yeah,
Not having to stick those things up
yeah,
your nose or the back of your throat, right?
exactly. Actually, during COVID, we did convert the device into a COVID test, and we actually came quite far. We were talking to BARDA, we were talking to RADEX, so some of these American things set up to actually fund like COVID for our sake, and we came quite far actually within the process. But as being the first of its kind, there were no guidelines, there were nothing in the FDA, so we didn't make it, and then COVID was luckily over. So we didn't make it to market, but we did develop it. It was quite fast. We did have a very high statistics on it, so a sensitivity of almost 98% and a specificity
Wow,
of 68. So it was quite good.
that's
And
really accurate.
only using the breath to actually normal breathing into the device, having a specific sensor targeting the virus directly. So we were quite successful there.
So tell me about like the stats on pneumonia, like, and why is that important? And actually, like the market for um, uh, you know,
Yeah.
how this could, what the difference, the impact this could make for pneumonia and lung cancer.
Yeah, so for pneumonia, we are in the early stages where we have just gone into a collaboration agreement with Mayo Clinic, where we are going to look at whether we know we can detect pneumonia, but we don't know whether we can differentiate pneumonia from, so bacterial pneumonia from viral pneumonia. And that is what we're like working on to see whether we can, but we do know that we can detect pneumonia. And what you want to do is actually being able to detect pneumonia early. And if we are able to differentiate between viral and bacterial, then you can actually go in and say which patients are actually in for antibiotics and who is not gonna benefit from antibiotics.
Right. Instead of just destroying the immune system with an
Exactly,
antibiotic,
and
it's
you
not even
you
going to work.
no, and you want to limit as much as you can the use of antibiotics due to this antimicrobial thing that we're trying to limit at the moment. So I think we that is our main target as it is right now.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, because the number of people and the tolerance people are developing to
Exactly.
antibiotics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
They actually have a belief that antibiotics by 2030 are not going to work in many patients anymore because there is this resistance like increasing. And just imagine how the world is going to be if antibiotics doesn't work anymore. It's not really it's not good to get an pneumonia at least.
right. And so what are some of the other applications that that what are some of the other things that we could measure in our breath?
Well, we can measure a lot of things in both the gas phase and in the breath condensate phase. And some of it is asthma, of course, COPD monitoring, and a lot of other conditions that are directly linked to the respiratory tract. There are also breath tests actually also detecting the gut microbiome and things like that. So you do have a broad spectrum of detectable things using the biochemical breath analyzers. So
So you this is let me just go back. This is what it looks like.
yeah, it is what is look. It's a small handheld device. What you are like breathing into is the disposable mouthpiece, and then you
Right.
have a small sensor cartridge where the collection takes place and where the microfluidic is running down to the sensor. So all is done in one go in the device. You don't have to do anything.
So presumably, like, could you even change the sensor in one visit, or is that a little bit too complicated?
Could I? What? Sorry. Once again.
Change the sensor in one visit to the
Yeah, you
doctor's
could.
office.
Yes, you
Like
could.
someone could just say, "Okay, we're going to see if you have pneumonia or lung cancer," and you
Yeah,
could put in
yeah.
a test.
Hopefully none of them, but yes, yes, you could. It's just a question of changing sensor or actually getting the result out of the same sensor. So we are applying AI, and that is helping actually to see whether you have a pneumonial infection or whether you have whether it's likely that you have lung cancer. And today, how they are doing it is that they are looking at your age, your pack years of smoking, and then combined with some other thing, then you say, well, are you eligible for going to a CT scan to see whether you have cancer? Only 2% out of these eligible people sent to CT scan are actually having lung cancer. So if you could have a device in front of that CT scanning, you could actually say, well, is it likely that you have increased level? We are measuring hydrogen peroxide as a biomarker. Is it likely that you have an inflammation and that you have lung cancer? And that is what we are doing and how we envision how the device is going to be used. So you put it in
as an
front of the,
intermediary.
it
Right.
is, it
Because
is.
CT scans, like what kind of is that ionizing radiation? What kind of what is the technology there? CT
So the
scan.
technology is a sensor-based thing. So you measure the hydrogen peroxide in your breath condensate.
No, but
And
the CT scan.
the CT scan is a low dosage CT scan that you are like simply scanning the lungs to see whether you have small embolies in your lungs.
That's like a much more expensive test.
Yeah, and a bit more complicated thing, of course, to actually do, and definitely more expensive. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so I saw that you were at the European Institute of Technology Catapult semifinals with your pitch.
Yes, we
Um,
will.
tell us a little bit about that. So you're raising money for exhalation technology.
Yeah.
You made it to the semifinals there. Like, what's next?
Yeah, so next is actually that we are going to see whether we can get funding for the last evidence gathering. It's not like a major amount that we are seeking, something like $4 million, but it's kind of just to say that will actually put the first device, the pneumonia device, together with Mayo Clinic that we have developed on the market in the US. And that is required. It's actually quite expensive to do medical device development in humans. And having done it so far, there has been put a lot of money into the company. We are privately funded. So it's the last bit of money that it will actually make it the way to market.
Who gave you your seed funding?
So the seed funding is private investors, friends, families, family offices, and some angels.
That's brilliant. Okay, so are you going to be coming over stateside anytime soon?
I am. I'm going to the American Thoracic Society meeting in May. We have been selected to present at the Respiratory Innovation Summit, and there we will be presenting our case in front of investors on the 17th and 18th of May, hopefully to raise some money or to find a good industrial partner that can bring the technology to market together with us.
I mean, and it's a growing trend to really support female founders. And
I hope so.
yeah, last week I was just on a call. There's a guy named Mark November who runs these pitching events, and that one was dedicated purely to female founders. It's a shame, but I think it was in middle at like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning for you, right?
Yeah, it was. It was.
But there are, it's amazing, women and what comes out of your passions and hobbies are making some amazing discoveries and products. So that is brilliant. I mean, is there anything else you'd like to share about this, or any other things that you're excited about?
I think kind of we have concluded everything, Susan. I think it's, I am of course happy to share any kind of details about the technology. Also, of course, if anyone want to hear more about the horse bit of it, then I would be delighted to tell. So everybody is more than welcome to reach out for us.
Wonderful. Well, I think that this is a really exciting development, and it can make a big difference to a lot of people. So thank you very much. And if people want to get in touch with Helle, these are her contact details. If you want to take a screenshot, and well, thank you very much, Helle.
Thank
And
you.
I'm looking forward to hearing more. And I do hope that you get the funding that you need while you're over in the US.
So do I. And thank you so much for letting me presenting here, Susan. It was a
Yes, of course.
pleasure.
My pleasure.
Okay.